Field of 68 after dark.
What's up? Welcome into Big East. Welcome into the Field of 68 After Dark, presented by BetMGM. We are live and in color, coming to you from every site. Well, I'm at my house, but the boys are in better spots. Rob Dauster is at the ACC down in Charlotte. Michael Tulip is at the Big Ten. Tulip, before we get going, though, it does look like it's a hostage video. We at least to show people the court to let them know. You got to. There you go. There you go. All right. You are in Chi-Town, in the rafters, mind you, as Dauster's basically on the floor. Slightly better media seating at the ACC event. What do you think?
Do you want me to go out there and get us some shots? You know, I've been working on my form a little bit down. I haven't played a lot. I'm thinking about rejoining the men's league, so I think I might go get some shots up in a little bit, if that's okay with you guys.
If you do that, I've got a good orthopedist for you because I think you're going to pop something or pull something. We'll get you taken care of. We got, obviously, these guys are at those two tournaments. Richard Hendricks will be joining us from the SEC in Nashville, and then Jeff Goodman joining us from the Big 12 out in KC. LaTulip, let's first start with the Big 10. I mean, first of all, this bracket looks like it's the Little League World Series, so I'm not even going to try to understand what's going on and how many days we're having here. But as you see it pop up here, we are now to the quarterfinals officially tomorrow. But let's look at today. What was the story of today? I mean, Donovan Dent goes for a triple-double. Wisconsin outlasts Washington. Ohio State beats Iowa, and Purdue whooped up on Northwestern a bit. What was your story of the day today?
Well, everything went chalk, obviously, in this one. And I think each game kind of had its own story. I know Washington made it close in that game, but that Wisconsin backcourt, I think it honestly might be the hottest in America right now with John Blackwell and Nick Boyd. And then I also thought you have the Dent triple-double. Since inserting Billadal into the starting lineup, just how they've kind of taken off here down the stretch, winning 5 of 6. And I thought Purdue kind of got back to their ways tonight. They went a little bit more conservative defensively, and Braden Smith was just, Rob, you and I have talked about that Houston game a ton, and just tonight was another example of him just absolutely picking apart a defense, and didn't need to do much putting the ball in the basket, but was as high level as it gets as a facilitator. So we had some good ones here in Chicago today.
Yeah, Braden Smith at the last game of the regular, or one of the last games of the regular season when they played Northwestern at Northwestern, the way that they decided to play defense on them was just put 2 on the ball and shovel everybody onto the strong side of the court and leave that pass, like the skip pass to the guy in the far side corner. And that's why at Northwestern, CJ Cox was able to knock down a bunch of threes and he got hot. And when Braden Smith, when you let him see that and you let him figure out what he has to do to be able to beat a defense, he's going to be able to figure it out. Like there are flaws to him as a player, specifically like his size. But when you let him kind of have an idea of what he needs to do to be able to beat a defense and let him try get a second chance at it, that's a bad idea. Bad things happen when you do that.
So do you guys feel at Purdue? I mean, obviously they play Nebraska next. They did walk into Pinnacle Bank and walk out with an overtime win. That feels like a year ago, given the struggles that they had. That was in the middle of a 4-game win streak about 5 weeks ago. Tulip, do you feel that this Purdue team is are we turning toward an upswing, or how do you feel about them overall relative to what we've seen since they beat Nebraska, last month?
Yeah, I think, again, going back to the defensive side of the ball, I just thought down the stretch in the regular season, they were almost doing too much. A lot of hard hedging with Clough, which led to a ton of rotations, which I just don't think they're not the group athletically that should be in rotation constantly. So today you play a little bit more conservatively. You put Clough in drop coverage, and you stay out of rotation. And I think throughout this game, I think Northwestern had 53 field goals in the game. 8 were at the rim, only 8 at the rim, and 14 from 3. So you had 31 other shots today that were non-rim twos. That's exactly how it should be for this Purdue team, because you got such a good offense, one of the top 2 offenses in the country per KenPom. So just, I think going the conservative route defensively helps you just kind of be a little bit more bend, don't break. You don't have to take yourself out of position, and then you put more of the onus on your offense, which is really damn good. So I thought that's what they did tonight, and now you got to carry it over in a game against Nebraska where you kick their ass on the boards in Lincoln, 21 offensive rebounds. And then same thing for Fletcher Lawyer tomorrow. I mean, he took 17 threes against Nebraska and Lincoln. Because like what Rob's alluding to, when Northwestern puts 2 on the ball, Nebraska's going to do the same thing. So those shots on the backside, Lawyer's going to have them, Cox is going to have them. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Lawyer once again tomorrow enter double digits on 3-point attempts. So that's what has me encouraged. It starts with the shift defensively. They're still putting 2 on the ball at times, but being a little bit more conservative, keeping Clough by the rim. And I thought Clough and TKR tonight just absolutely dominated the paint. 38 points in the paint. Those guys were really good tonight. So this team, I think they're going to ascend at the right time. They have guys that have been in these moments here in March, and you just wonder if, can they run the table here in Chicago and climb to the top of that 3 line? Can things shake out on the 2 line where they pop to the end of the 2 line? Like, I think there's still a lot that Purdue can go and grab here in Chicago.
Rob, let me ask you about Wisconsin, because LaTulip said with their backcourt, Blackwell and Boyd, maybe the hottest backcourt in the country. Your thoughts?
I love that backcourt. I love that team. I think they're so dangerous, right? Like I'll be honest with you. I might be a little bit biased. There might be some people on this show right now that have a 25-1 future on Wisconsin winning the Big Ten tournament. So maybe if I speak that into it. maybe if I speak that into an existence, it'll be something where I can get a little payout at the end. But their guards, the best thing for those guards is how much of a threat their bigs are to shoot. Because when you pull those big guys away from the basket, and when you pull the rim protectors away from the basket, and you're telling me Nick Boyd's going to be able to kind of go one-on-one and finish at the rim, and there's not going to be a 7-footer there trying to block his shot when he gets there, that's a problem, especially when he gets going. Like John Blackwell got it going to, what do you have, 34 and 10, right?
Yeah.
When he's your second best guard, you're going to have a lot of issues trying to stop them and slow them down. Now, the problem is a lot of times those guys, they might get 30 in a night and give up 30 in a night. But when they can hold their own defensively, when they can win on the glass, when they keep you to getting one shot, when they don't give up their own paint touches, that Wisconsin team is dangerous. Like they're probably my team this year that I'm either going to have in the Final Four or losing in the first round. Like, I don't think that there's an in-between. They're either going to look like they can win a national championship, or they're going to look like they're going to lose to Merrimack in the first round of the tournament.
Well, there may be no team in the country more so when people watch them in the tournament, be like, what the hell is this? Like, this is not the Wisconsin. Because people, like, in your head, it's not going to match up to what you think you know about Wisconsin. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, you guys both make a good point, because I think Wisconsin has kind of become, and it's not necessarily with the pace, but with the way their paint touches turn into threes. Like, it's very Alabama-esque, what they're doing here in the Big Ten, which is crazy to even say, given how that program operated for years. But you look at Boyd and Blackwell. I mean, last 4 games, both of them are over 20 a game. Combined, they're over 46% from 3. Boyd is 22 assists, 6 turnovers. And I just thought that the guard and the staff have just done such a good job of deploying them in different ways. I mean, I thought I think it was 81-80 in this one. And I think everybody's thinking, okay, maybe they'll try to get Boyd going downhill. And they drew up just a cleared side right-hand rip for Blackwell. And if you go back to the Big Ten tournament last year against Michigan State, you had Tanjay popping off and all that. Who did Greg Gard draw the play up for? John Blackwell. So you just see the level of trust that he has in a guy that's been in the program for three seasons. And so that was really cool to see. And the last point that I'll make on Wisconsin, because I think we talk about their offense and, Nick Boyd, and said, like, this is a tough group. I mean, I keep wondering when the Nolan Winter absence is going to hurt them. But Bieljaskis and Rapp, these guys stepping up, with Steinbach being a handful today. And I think the staff in particular, I don't think this has really been talked about, but think about the marriage between like a Nick Boyd, who's fearless, who's tough. Think about the dudes on that staff. Joe Krabbenhoff. Joe Krabbenhoff was out of his mind when he played at Wisconsin in the best way. Brad Davison, same thing. I played for Sharif Chambliss, same thing. Like they have a makeup on that staff that I think blends so well with the product that they have on the floor. And I think it's a big reason why they're winning.
Dallin, do you like how Mike is there and he's like, yeah, remember this play from 3 years ago in the first round of the Big Ten tournament? Like, how do you remember this stuff? Why do you know that?
It was last year. It was a big game. It was the quarterfinals to advance. Yeah.
It was
really,
a big game. It was the quarterfinals, which means it's one of 4 games. I don't even know what happened at noon today, bruh. Like I'm impressed.
I'll say this: it was a big game because Michigan State was the top seed and Wisconsin knocked them off. So I remember the play late. It was a roll replace with John Blackwell. Tanjay popped out to the top. Blackwell got downhill. The rest was history.
You're proving our point, man. You're proving
exactly.
Our point.
You're defending yourself. We're complimenting you at our buffoonery. But you are proving the points even further.
Fair. All right.
Like I said, we do have Richard Hendricks at SEC. We got Goodman out of Big 12. We want to get everything in. Just with tomorrow, as you mentioned, it's all chalk. Who are what game are you most interested in, or what game do you think is the most potential for an upset, given the chalkiness we've seen to this point?
I think the game I think the game I'm most interested in is I honestly think it's Purdue, Nebraska. I really do. I think those 2 teams are probably both sitting on the 3 line right now. So you just wonder if a win for either side either bumps them up or drops the team that loses down. Wisconsin, Illinois is an interesting one just because last time Wisconsin came into Champaign, Boswell and Stojakovic weren't playing. So do things look differently for Illinois defensively? And then I think for UCLA and Michigan State, I mean, UCLA got their asses kicked and in the Breslin Center not too long ago, but they've kind of turned the tide. And then what kind of Bruce Thornton do we get against Michigan? He's 33% from the field and combined in 2 games against Michigan. So all 4 of these games, but I'm particularly looking at Purdue, Nebraska.
That's how you know it's going to be a good day, Dallin, because I could sit there
all of them.
And you could make an argument for every single one of those games. Like Ohio State and Michigan, yeah, Bruce Thornton has a chance to go out here and end Michigan's Big Ten run in his last season as a guy that's going to go play his way into the NCAA. Oh, you get Purdue, Nebraska? Well, yeah, Nebraska wants to get revenge. Oh, you get UCLA and Michigan State? To me, it's Illinois, Wisconsin. Like that just has all the makings of being a classic because both of those teams can score. They play a little bit up tempo. They space the floor. They shoot threes. It's like they're pretty similar in terms of what they want to do in the sense that you got Kai Boswell, you got Keaton Wagler, and you got Nick Boyd, and you got John Blackwell, and you got a bunch of big guys that can shoot threes with names that Norm Roberts will never, ever be able to pronounce. And you just want to get paint touches and spray it out and bomb threes, and you don't really want to play that much defense. Sign me up for that. That final score is going to be like 93-92. You're going to have 83s taken in that game. It's a Mike LaTulip game. You can sit here and pretend like you're now trying to pretend like you're not in the Illini, right? Like you didn't spend 4 years on that program. That's the game you're most excited for. Be honest,
dude. It's Wright State. First it's Wright State. Now it's Illinois. Like I just, man. I mean, do you want me to do my job or not?
Yes.
No, I want you to be a shill for both of your universities. I want you to be.
Yes, I'm excited.
Both your squad. That's what I want.
Hey! Breaking news! I'm excited. I'm excited to see this team tomorrow because Illinois has a lot at stake too. I mean, they just the latest bracketology, they're right on that 2-3 cut line. So picking up another quad 1 win and getting another shot at potentially Michigan, that could do a lot for this group. And I just think
Go ahead. Can I ask you a real question about Illinois big picture, right? Because they took some lumps, in the back half of the Big Ten season after kind of playing their way into looking like a national champion or a national title threat there for a little while. Where are you at on them big picture? Like, is this a team that could reel off 4 in a row? Is this a team that can reel off 6 in a row? Where are you at with this group?
I definitely think it's a team that can reel off 4 in a row. 6, I think they're going to have to hit another gear defensively when you talk about running into the likes of an Arizona, of a Duke, of a Michigan. I think we saw that back in Champaign a couple of weeks ago. But I'm still bullish on the fact that this team has great positional size. I think the strength that they've had all season is that, and this is important in the NCAA tournament, they've taken care of teams that are inferior to them. Like they with their size, with their shooting, with their skill, with their matchup hunting, they'll relentlessly attack that. And you look at their schedule and what they've done. I mean, teams that they are expected to beat, they beat. And when you talk about obviously the round of 64, but the round of 32, maybe the Sweet 16, like that just raises your floor. So I think, they've gone back to kind of like Purdue in a way, going back to more of like, okay, here's our bread and butter, more conservative defensively. And then Keaton Wagler, he's been a little banged up, and you just wonder if he can kind of recapture what he had in late January, early February. And if he does that, in addition to getting Kylan Boswell and Andrei Stojakovic back and fully acclimated, hell yeah. I mean, this team can go to Indy and possibly beyond.
Yeah, I think that's I think it's hard. I think it would be hard pressed to find somebody that says, "Nah, Illinois cannot win 4." That seems, when you have an offense that's that elite, I think anybody that wants to make the argument that you cannot see that, I think you're being disingenuous. There, you have an agenda. If you're not just if that's your argument that they cannot do that. The difference is the defensive piece of it. If they're going to win the whole thing, and that's where I think it's just there. I get into a bridge too far. 4-6 is a whole different ballgame, and with the teams we've seen at that very elite level. Can they compete?
Well,
I think. Can they win? I don't know. But the defensive parts of it and the lack of – it's been in some close games too, like the little plays, that rebound, that just doing that little thing more that has to happen to win, because they've had a bunch of tough losses. And you could point to little things, and sometimes it's defensive, sometimes it's toughness, sometimes it's mental execution. But usually the weakness is on that something's done on the defensive end that caused a problem that got you in a bad spot. So we'll see if that changes, but that's it.
Yeah, to your point, Dallin, the way that I think about it with Illinois is to get to a Final Four, you have to beat one of the number 1 seeds. To win a national championship, you're probably going to have to beat 3 of them if things play out the way we expect, right? You got to beat one in the Elite 8 to get to the Final Four. You probably got to beat one of the Final Four to get to the championship game, and you got to beat one of the championship game. Can you beat 3 of Duke, Arizona, Michigan, and who am I blanking on?
Florida.
Duke, Arizona. Oh, Florida. Yeah, Duke, Arizona, Michigan, and Florida. Can you beat 3 of those teams in a row? Back to back to back, it's going to take a lot to do.
And top 5 defenses. I mean, those 4 are the top 5 defenses in America.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mike, appreciate you, man. Enjoy it. Enjoy tomorrow. We'll be looking out for your breakdown of last year's games as well. Yes, get one more shot for us. Thank you very much. From the Crow's Nest, Michael Tulip is out for Field 68 After Dark. We come back. Richard Hendricks joins us from Nashville, give us the SEC breakdown, and I'm stuck with Rob. Back in a minute.
As you know by now, we have teamed up with BetMGM again this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we will have special offers for Field of 68 fans, including same-game parlays, best-in-class live betting, and daily odds boost. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app. You sign up using bonus code FIELD. You deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. Make this college basketball season one for the history books. Make it legendary. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. March Madness is here, and you know what that means. It's a time of excitement and a time when legends are forged. In other words, it's a time to wear chubby. Skies out, thighs out, baby. It's getting warmer. The clock's moved up an hour, and it's time for Chubbies. Chubbies was founded in 2011 by a group of friends with a simple mission: rid closets of uncomfortable clothes and put the fun back in functional fits. They set out to create shorts, trunks, and polos that put personality back into your wardrobe with fits that look good and feel even better. Chubby shorts aren't just insanely comfortable. They're built with premium fabrics that are quick drying, wrinkle resistant, and antimicrobial. Chubbies keeps you comfy, casual, and dangerously confident. For a limited time, Chubbies is giving our listeners a 20% off discount with code F68 at chubbiesshorts.com. That's 20% off your order with code F68. Give your thighs the VIP treatment that they deserve. Support our show and tell them we sent you.
Welcome back into Field of 68 After Dark, presented by BetMGM. Rob Dauster still with us from Charlotte in the ACC. We got the crew reconvening from across the country now. Jeff Goodman is at the Big 12 out at KC. Richard Hendricks joining us from Nashville at the SEC, and I'm in my kitchen in Connecticut. All right, Richard, we will start with you in the SEC, my man. There was obviously some pretty great games there. What was your story of the day? What was your takeaway of the day in Nashville?
Well, I think my biggest takeaway is that Ole Miss is still alive. This is a team that has battled, been the 15 seed in this tournament. And to hold two teams in back-to-back days, Texas yesterday to 35% shooting, and here they come today holding Georgia to 36% shooting. They've been able to show that they're here to compete. They'll have a tough matchup against Alabama in the next round. But that was something that jumped out. And obviously, Kentucky getting that win against Missouri, they were in control for most of the game until Mark Mitchell just turned it up in the second half of that game. Took the lead with under 3 minutes to go, but Colin Chandler played an efficient game, hit some big shots in the money time, and they were able to get a big win.
Goody, what do you think about? I mean, Ole Miss is still alive. You're over here, Goodman. You're working hard, real quick. Ole Miss still alive. Kentucky survives over Missouri. Like, was there any big note for you for the SEC? You may be crapping out. Rob, you answer.
Yeah, I'll go. I think it was Kentucky. And Richard, we talked about this last night, man, how important it was for Kentucky to get that win against Missouri, to be able to get the momentum back after having a sluggish end to the season, right? They lost, I think it was 5 out of 7. They lost their last 2. 2 of those were to Florida, and they get Florida tomorrow. And now you kind of got a free shot, right? You've played yourself into a spot where maybe a 6 seed is possible if things kind of break right for you, right? And if you beat Florida, then you probably are going to get up onto that 6 seed line. And I think they got a puncher's chance, man. They played them tough twice. If you get off to a better start, right? Like, that's the thing, Richard. The last 2 times that they've played them, they've kind of dug themselves holes against Florida. And I think if you're able to kind of get out of that early and get up on them, I think you got a chance. What I thought was most impressive about Kentucky, too, was the last time that they played Missouri, they were up by 8 with 4.5 minutes left, and they gave that thing away. I think you had that game, Richard, right? Was that the game that Cam Williams got hurt?
I had the game, that next game. Cam Williams got hurt, I believe, in the Mississippi State game against Kentucky, but it was the previous game when Kentucky started out 0-2 in SEC play, where they lost at home to Mizzou. So, I mean, they were able to figure it out down the stretch in this game, but I'm telling you, Mizzou gave them everything they wanted with Mark Mitchell. But I agree with you. Kentucky will have to get off to a great start against Florida. But I think right now in this tournament, Florida is just playing at a different level. The way those bigs are able to play amongst each other with high-low passes, making good decisions, and then pounding on the offensive glass has been remarkable of what they've been able to do.
Yeah, Florida's an absolute wagon, and their numbers have reflected.
Yep.
We keep talking about how they've come down from the national championship odds of 22, 23 to 1 down to 13, 14 to 1. They're now down to 5 to 1 in a lot of books. Guys, I do think you're bearing the lead here in terms of what has been discussed nationally. Mm-hmm. Auburn was up 10 with 10 minutes to go. Tennessee looked dead in the water, doing their Tennessee thing again when the offense was anemic. And it looked like they were going to get the win that Auburn needed to put them in position to maybe be in the right side of the bubble. They kind of did what they've done recently. Their defense started to struggle. They started to fracture as a group. Bad shots were taken, and Tennessee just took over that game and won going away, won by 10 points. With that said, Texas loses earlier. The Texas record ain't great. Somebody got some metrics holes, to say the least. Auburn's got their own problems. Miami of Ohio loses, which is relevant because they're likely going to be an at-large team now. At least I think they will be. Richard, is Auburn done and dusted? Does Texas survive? Like, what do you make of the bubble picture that's developing within the SEC now that Miami of Ohio lost as well?
Well, we touched on it last night, and I think that Auburn, they had a big opportunity to go ahead and play their way into the tournament, and they just let that game go. I mean, Nate Ament was able to pick up his play in the second half, and Tennessee in that 20-0 run really was the difference maker in it. So, I tend to look at things a little bit differently. Everybody's talking about what needs to happen for Auburn to make it. Auburn should have played better today to finish out that game, because if they do that with a win against Tennessee, I think they have a good chance of being in the tournament. Now, you're talking about a team 1 game above 500. Are they going to make the tournament? And the bigger thing, when you talk about teams stealing bids, this team that just left off the court last night, we talked about it last night, Oklahoma, on a big win against Texas A&M in the nightcap here. They've been playing lights-out basketball, and to me, they seem like a team that's trying to steal a bid, spirited, and playing like they want to be in the NCAA tournament. So for me, I think it's Auburn needs to be concerned with other teams stepping up to the plate and taking their spot, and Oklahoma is the team for me in the league that's trying to get a bid.
They're right there. They were in the next 4 out, or the first 4 out for us in today's Fielding the 68 bracket. And, the wins are getting better. They've added a couple of good wins here in the SEC tournament. I think they've won 7 straight games here to close out the season. Like, what happens if they just never lose again? Like maybe Oklahoma is going on a UConn run here, Dallin. Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're going to win 5 in a row and win the SEC. Maybe they're going to go win the national championship. Who knows? Apparently, they can no longer lose basketball games, but they beat the absolute brakes off Texas A&M today. Like that was never really. On a side note, Texas A&M I feel like is one of those teams where they've either just gone on like a 30-5 run, or they give up a 30-5 run. Like there's the waves that you go on with that Texas A&M team will get you seasick. But I think Auburn's done. Like and I think it's fitting that on the day that Auburn blew a 10-point lead to Tennessee, that Miami of Ohio losing is what might end up costing them the bid. Like if you could connect those dots, I think that is there's a little bit of I don't know if poetic justice is the right way to phrase it, because that sounds like really harsh on Auburn, but you can't go 17-16 and be in the tournament and say, yeah, we got to win at Florida. Yeah, we've won 4 games against a really, really, really difficult schedule. There's a lot. Someone made this point to me today about Miami of Ohio, and I'm curious your guys' take. There's a lot of teams in college basketball that play a schedule that is not great, that don't play a ton of high major teams, that don't play a ton of bye games. Like there's a bunch of them that have done it over the course of the years, right? How many of them have gone 31-0?
Right.
None of them. I think there's 4 teams since 1985 that have gone 31-0 heading into the conference tournaments, and Miami of Ohio is one of them. It might not have been a great schedule. Maybe they don't have a great high major win, but they went 31-0, man. If you enter Selection Sunday 31-1, then you are going to be a tournament team. And even put them in Dayton. I'm fine with that. I got no problem with that. You know why? Watching them play a high major team in Dayton in what is going to be effectively a home game for Miami of Ohio, then that'll be a fun environment. So they will get a chance against one of the big boys in what could end up being a home game, which you're never going to get because none of the big boys will play them there. Prove them why. Show them why, Travis. Show them why they're all scared to play at Miami of Ohio.
All right, real quick here. Let's just – there's 2 things to be true at the same time. There's no shot a mid-major's been 31-0 because there's no shot a mid-major has never played a high major. This schedule is almost unique in the fact that there wasn't a single bye game, a single tournament, a single anything where they played a team from one of the Power 4 or former Power 5 conferences or Power 6, however you want to break it down. That's unique. It's also unique to win every game and to win 8 games by 1 possession. That said, today looked like to me that a team that exhaled for a second. They started that like, hey, we did it. Hey, mama, we made it. And UMass punked the crap out of them in the interior. 54 points in the paint. The game's on the line, 81 all. Hank and Sanford gets it 2 feet from the hoop, just a little baby hook. Like I'm a little concerned for them physically to hang with some of the teams that have big bodies. Mm-hmm. That said, I don't think they're putting them in Dayton. I think they're putting them in the field. I think they want this story there on Thursday and with everybody there. And a 31-1 team does not deserve to be playing other teams that are barely above 500. To that point, Auburn 17-16, I don't need it. To some regard, Texas 17-14, don't need it. I would rather see a team, honestly, I'd rather see Stanford, who had their second best player get hurt in the middle of the year, lose 5 games in a row, figure it out, win 6 of the last 9, albeit lose to Pitt in the ACC tournament. That ain't good. But that recency bias plays in everybody's mind. Everybody thinks of because who you last lost to in this bubble talk, you're just gone, which is not really how it should be. It's supposed to be, in my mind, look at the last 10 games. We don't have that data point anymore. I think that's a loss. Mm-hmm. Who's playing their best right now? A lot of teams we've talked about here have been playing like crap down the end. Oklahoma, to your point, Richard, is not. They're playing great. They've won, 7 of 9 or something like that. They're playing well. So, okay, if we're getting teams that are trending in the right direction, I'm much more for that have a positive quad 1 record like Stanford does, 6-5, a positive quad 1 and 2 record combined, 9-8, 5-6 quad 1. They can give a bunch of numbers for different things. I would rather see teams like that have figured something out versus teams that are 17-16 or 17-14. You say you play a tough schedule, but you still got to win basketball games. You still got to win games.
I agree.
And I sum this all up by saying Miami, Ohio won a lot of freaking games. They're going in the 64 in my mind. That's my thought. I'm off my soapbox. Go ahead, Richard.
No, I tend to agree with you. I mean, to me, when a team wins 31 games, I find that hard to leave them out of the field. I mean, even if you were to say, well, why didn't you play some of these other Power 4 teams? If they go 28-3 and lose 3 of those, that still should be enough, in my opinion, to make it when you win that many games. I mean, this is just so many games that you're going to just discredit one loss. But I get the argument, but I think the thing is the precedent. Are you going to set? Are you not going to let a team that wins 31 games into the field, or are you going to let a team that's 1 game over 500 with 16 losses? And maybe even that last slot is not even amongst those 2. But you know, it'll be interesting to see if you do see those two teams play and duke it out. Now, within that, I do think Auburn is a much stronger team and would come out in front. But I'm not sitting. It doesn't sit well for me to penalize a team for the schedule that they have when they did dominate within their conference.
All right, Richard, I got a quick question for you on Oklahoma, who is kind of getting close to playing their way in. What's flipped for them? How have they gone on this run? And I want to make sure I got it right. Let me bring up their schedule real quick. I do believe they've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They've won 6 in a row here. The last 4 of the regular season and 2 here in the SEC tournament. What flipped? How did they get this thing going in this direction?
Well, this is a team that I always thought had a lot of talent. I mean, Nigel Pack, we all know, has his career that he's been able to shoot from the outside. Xavier Brown is an explosive guard that's been playing good. They've lost some close games. They lost on a last-second shot to Alabama at home, had that game in hand. Had some games they played plenty of other teams tough. And the crazy thing is when I've had them, Porter Moser talks about how his team has remained confident, and they just needed to get something to get a win to get going. I think the win that they had at Vanderbilt a few weeks back that really started this run showed that they were a team that could finish off games. There was a stat that he quoted to me at one point that was like that they shot, I don't know, it was close to like over 45% for the first 36 minutes of the game, but the last 4 minutes of the game they were shooting around 15%. So it was a problem of closing out games. But this is a team, as far as talent-wise, they have really good guards. They have good athletic wings. And when they're able to guard and defend and switch things and ball screen coverages and knock down shots from the outside, they can play with anyone. And they somehow, some way, have been able to figure it out. And they've been one of the hottest teams in the league.
All right. With that said, they got Arkansas tomorrow. Another huge opportunity. They lost by 4 at home to Arkansas in the regular season. Who do you like tomorrow?
You know, I looked at this bracket when it started, and I said I thought Oklahoma had a really good draw. And I do think they can beat Arkansas. Now, Arkansas is a team that has a talented team. But as of late, they've looked a little bit vulnerable. Now, they got a little bit of a chance to regroup. And they have their fresh legs. So they did have some injuries. I believe they set Darius Acuff in a game to give him a little bit of rest and might have been banged up. But I think the momentum that Oklahoma seems to have in this gym right now, playing good basketball, it's something that could sneak up on a team that has a double bye. So I think it's about how they will be able to start out, and if they can control those bigs of Arkansas. You talk Malik Ewan and Trevin Brazile and Billy Richmond, who's able to do so many things on both sides of the ball. If they can neutralize some of that early on, then I think Oklahoma has a really good chance of advancing to the next round.
Yeah, especially if Acuff doesn't play. If you got a bum ankle that he's dealing with, and you're looking at potentially playing 3 games in 3 days that ends on Sunday, and then you got 3 days rest with a travel day in between to go get ready to play in the tournament. Like you got bigger things here to worry about. I think if you're Arkansas, if Acuff is banged up a little bit. Alabama's a team that we haven't talked much about yet this week because of the fact that they haven't played. They're the 2 seed. They get Ole Miss here in the first round, who, like, Ole Miss is a little bit like Oklahoma to me because they have some talent and they have some pieces on that roster, and maybe they didn't do the best personality evaluations when it came to putting that team together. But there's some talent there, Richard. And Alabama's they got guards, and they can score. What do you make of this matchup? Can Ole Miss keep this run going, keep the dream alive?
Well, I think a lot of it depends if Alabama hits shots, because what Ole Miss has been able to do in this tournament defensively is just strangle teams. And Alabama has, as you mentioned, elite level guards, and they have a bevy of them. They can hit the threes early on and with those fresh legs and get into the paint, which spreads things out when you have to honor them on the outside. Then that really takes their game to another level. Now, Nate Oates had a lot of success against Ole Miss on the road in Oxford earlier on in this season, won by almost 20 points where they were in control. But Chris Beard has been unknown to beat Alabama. He beat them last year in the regular season in Tuscaloosa in a game that he was able to really slow down the pace. The game was played in the 60s. And if they're able to do that again, get the defense going, make it difficult, play a little bit physical, get Malik Dia to impose his will down low and not settle for too many outside shots, then dictating tempo can be the key to Ole Miss. But listen, it's an Alabama team that really can shoot from the outside. And if they got players knocking down threes all around the court, then the game gets out of hand really quickly, and you're forced to play the style that the Tide wants to play, which is getting up and down.
Yeah, you nailed it. It's got to be pace control. If they can control the game and control the pace, they got it. You can have a shot, but that's easier said than done against Alabama.
Right.
Cool atmosphere. Tennessee, Vandy in Nashville. And what do you make of this game? The 4-5 matchup. Winner likely gets Florida. The winner of Florida, Kentucky. What do you got with Tennessee, Vandy?
Well, I was on the call on the last game that they had in Knoxville for Vanderbilt versus Tennessee, and that was senior night. And Vanderbilt came right out of the gate, and their execution in the half court, I mean, it's pristine. Tyler Tanner has an elite first step, and his ability to just blow by people and then abruptly stop to get his shot off and create for others. And his IQ when it comes to his anticipation to get steals, which leads to easy baskets on the other end. That's the key for Vanderbilt. Can they turn over Tennessee? And when they do, they're able to make sure that they can capitalize with easy buckets on the other end. Now, the physicality in which Tennessee plays is something that they were not able to impose upon Vanderbilt in their last game. They're dominant in their second chance points in the offensive rebound. Jalen Carey has been active down low with his rebounding, with the physicality. I think Felix Akpar's game has stepped up to another level. Nate Amen is back into the fold, and they're going to have a lot of motivation in a building that has a lot of Tennessee faithful in here, regardless if you're in Nashville or not. But I think this is something that the rematch and the motivational factor for Tennessee will let them be able to pull out this one here in Bridgestone Arena.
Hey, I need to call some shenanigans on this Tennessee program, because I was told that Nate Amen had a high ankle sprain like 2 weeks ago, right? And 2 weeks ago, then he missed a couple games. As of 2 weeks ago, he had a high ankle sprain, and he comes out tonight. First time he's played since then. 27 points on 15 shots. Gets to the line 13 times. 8 boards, 4 assists, 3 blocks. With a dude that had a high ankle sprain 2 weeks ago? What are we doing here? We got lied to. We got sold a bill of goods. There's no way that dude just did that 2 weeks after having a high ankle sprain. I've had a high ankle sprain. Those things hurt for a long, long time. I got one question for both of you guys, okay? We just found out that Mark Pope's not going to be there tomorrow, okay? And they've hired Dallin Cuff and Richard Hendricks to coach Kentucky to go against that juggernaut Florida team.
Richard's like, wait, what happened with breaking news? He was like, wait, what?
Yeah, for real. Telling me something I didn't know.
They've hired you two to put together the game plan for Kentucky to go out there and try to beat Florida. How do you do it, Dallin? How do you do it, Richard?
Who's going first here?
Go first.
Dallin, you? Yeah. Okay.
No, Richard, you go ahead.
Well, first off, like my answer always, you do your best. That's the first thing you do. But I would say this. When it comes to Florida, I think you're going to have to match the physicality of those bigs. And it's going to be about how can you have the tone of keeping Ruben Chinyelu off the offensive glass. And they move the ball extremely well, but I would just have to lean on defensive pressure, making it difficult for those guards, for the bigs, to pinpoint passes to each other. You know, Thomas Houck, when he gets that ball, he has a really good connection when he's able to pass the ball to Chinyelu on high-low feeds and Alex Condon down low. And you're going to have to make do your work a little bit early and push them out of the paint. And when it comes to offensive rebounds, letting Condon get deep positioning, and then understand that when the guards get the ball, that Xavier Lee seems to be at his best when he gets out in transition. You know, if you can get back in defensive transition and make them have to execute in the half-court set, then you give yourself a much better chance. But when he gets out and run, he gets an opportunity to get easy baskets easy shots at the basket. He can get out and throw alley-oops to those wings that get out and run. So it's all about a complementary style in which that I would try to slow down a little bit of the pace if I have the personnel, which I think Kentucky can do that, and make sure you get back in defensive transition. And then when they get the shot up, you got to gang rebound. Now, obviously, that's easier said than done when they have that front line, in which they do.
Going to win this game, they're going to win the next game, and they're going to win a third game, and they're going to cut down the nets. That's what I think is going to happen in the SEC. But we'll find out tomorrow. It should be great. Rob, you anything else you want to say before we let Richard go up on his way?
No, I think you guys nailed it. You gotta really just hope that your big guys are going to show up to win that battle, because that's what you're going to have to do. You got to have to win the battle of the boards, and I don't think it's something that many teams in college basketball are capable of doing.
Yeah. All right, Richard, man, we appreciate your time. Enjoy the tomorrow's quarterfinals. We'll be back here in the Field of 68 after dark with Goodman from the Big 12 and some big news he's broken from the Big 12 next.
We are running it back with Splash Sports, ladies and gentlemen. Last year, the Survivor contest that we hosted with Splash paid out $40,000 to the winner. This year, the grand prize pays out a guaranteed $100K. For just $25 an entry and up to 133 entries, you can get a chance to prove that you are smarter than the Field of 68. Survivor is the future of March Madness. Just pick one team every day of the tournament to win, and if they do, you advance. The catch? You can only use each team once. We're also hosting a free-to-enter bracket on Splash. If you're looking to host one of your own, Splash can handle everything for you, from the entries to the payouts to the standings. We'll be running it back with the Sweet 16 Survivor contest as well for those that do not survive the first weekend. And Splash is now offering Quick Picks, a daily fantasy game that allows you to predict whether a player reaches a certain number on a specific stat. All links are in the description below. The big dance starts soon. Get in before it tips off.
Hey everyone, Jeff Goodman here, and I'm excited to tell you about what's going on with our partners at Voodoo Rangers. You know what makes March even better? Chaos. That 111 seed that nobody believed in suddenly ruining everyone's weekend. And this year, Voodoo Ranger wants you to bet on 11. Grab a can of G-Force IPA with 11% ABV, then register that beer at bet11.com. If an 11 seed advances, you have a chance to win a juicy prize, $11,000. We're also taking a trip to Vegas, exclusive G-Force merch. And if an 11 seed pulls off an upset, 1,100 fans could win cash for their next round. It's the juiciest bet of the tournament. No brackets, no stress, just cold beer and beautiful chaos. Visit beton11.com to enter. Win or lose, still got beer. Learn more at bet11.com. You must be 21 or older. No alcohol purchase necessary. Legal in all 50 states. Full rules at beton11.com.
Welcome back into Field of 68 after dark, presented by BetMGM. As we whip around the country to the conference tournaments, Rob Dauster's down in the ACC. In Charlotte, Jeff Goodman now joining us from the Big 12 in Kansas City. I'm Darryn Cuff. All right, Goody. You got a lot of activity around you. A lot is happening still, and you just broke some news with the Big 12. What's going on out there?
The glass court, bye-bye. And it should be, because it was atrocious. I mean, you know, you had heard rumblings the last couple of days, but kept going with this thing. And then Christian Anderson went down and you know, suffered a groin injury that who knows if that'll keep him out of next week or potentially, you know, at least hinder him if he comes back. He was limping after the game. And, you know, this is something that, again, a lot of coaches had complained to me today off the record, and then it came down to a vote, guys. As much as anything, it was a vote, and it was 3-1. Sources told me that TJ Otzelberg was the one guy who voted to keep the glass court. Why? Because his team won by like 100 points in both of the last two games. But ultimately, Tommy Lloyd, Kelvin Sampson, Bill Self all said, you know what? This court sucks. Not worth it. Not worth it for the injury issues that might arise tomorrow. And they're bringing back the hardwood, baby. So I'm right here on the court. I don't know. They may start breaking it down here any second on me. Who knows?
They're going to lay this thing down now. Like, this is we got to move here. We got a game in like 12 hours, which is unfortunate for all of us right now.
It's all in the morning, 4 shoot-arounds starting, I think, at 10 a.m. So I'm not kidding when I tell you, like, I got the Kansas families and everybody right here next to me, and players, some of the players. When they get out of here, I wouldn't be surprised they start doing it around me right now. Maybe I'll help.
You will not help.
Please don't.
Actually, your treadmill work the other day was very impressive in the room. So I don't know. You could really be doing some stuff. I don't know.
Dallin, he ran wind sprints last night. He ran wind sprints last night. He did 2 full court sprints and came back. And we actually had to he had to get what's the heart machines, the defibrillators. He had to get one of those after going up and down the court. So it was not good. My man needs to work out a little bit more.
I saw Norlander's post, Matt Norlander's post. What was your dinner? Seriously, just water and Twizzlers and chips? Is that your dinner?
That was my dinner. That was my dinner tonight. I mean, listen, guys, like, it's hard to go get something. I mean, I can't go get barbecue in between the games or anything like that. Second game ended, talked to some coaches. By the time the third game starts, you got a little bit of time, but not enough time to get a real dinner. And I missed the media dinner. So that was, chips, Twizzlers, water. Dinner of champions.
We're gonna get you better snacks, bro. We can't have you dying on the road out here. Okay,
Twizzlers are great.
I didn't say they're not good. Good for you is a different thing. I digress. Let's get back to the hoops. Story of the day on the court was what for you, Smitty?
I think it was just all four advancing. Getting to a semifinals here of the Big 12 that's going to be big time, right? I mean, you've got Arizona, Iowa State to start this thing off. Arizona, maybe the best team, certainly one of the top three in the country right now. An Iowa State team that we've all thought most of the year has a chance, to make a Final Four run. And then obviously in the nightcap, you've got Houston and Kansas. And you saw Darryn Peterson again play well late. He looked healthy tonight. I was worried on this floor, to be honest, if he could get through it. Kind of suffered a little bit of a left shoulder injury late in the first half, came back. And, man, he's just fun to watch when they let him loose. And when he kind of lets himself loose, he can get to the basket. He is so smooth. We saw it. We saw in back-to-back games, A.J. dybantsa and Darryn Peterson both play well. One wins, one does not.
What do you think, Dauster?
Yeah, I just think that, with Kansas finding a way to get hot with that group, and I've been saying this for months, and Goodman pushed back on me, and then he was like, you might make some good points, and then you started pushing back again. But I still think that this Kansas team is one of the more dangerous teams that we have in college basketball this year because of the way that they can defend, because of how good Floyd Badunga is at guarding fives, because of what Melvin Council can bring in transition, and because of the fact that you have one of the ultimate game changers in the sport, Darryn Peterson. Now, will he stay healthy? Will he be able to do what he did tonight over the course of 3 straight games? If he could do it over the course of 3 straight games, then I think I'm going to be able to buy into this idea that he should be able to do it in 6 games over 3 weeks. But I still think that this team, if they can find a way to get it going the way that they were earlier on this year, that is a dangerous basketball team. And beating TCU, who TCU's been playing really well of late. That's a good team. That is a team that can force some turnovers. They're tough. They're physical. That's what they do. What Jamie Dixon does. I was impressed with that. But for me, the biggest story for me coming from the Big 12 for the first 2 days is Iowa State. We had some doubts about Iowa State. Part of it was some of the losses that they took. Part of it was just there are some kind of physical limitations with that group, a little similar to kind of what Purdue's dealing with. They beat the brakes off of Arizona State. Like, they beat Bobby Hurley by 50 in his last game as a head coach at Arizona State, and you turn around and you dig yourself an 11-point hole to Texas Tech, and from there it was like Texas Tech didn't even show. They scored 40 points in the last 36 minutes of that game and lost by 22. Iowa State, that version of Iowa State, the version that we've gotten on the glass floor, is a team that can make a Final Four and win a game or two when they get to Indianapolis. Now, what happens when they go back to Hardwood? I don't know. Maybe TJ's going to bring that glass floor with him all the way back up to Ames, and that's what they're going to put in Ames. So it's not just Hilton Magic. It's now we got Hilton glass floors. But that Iowa State team has been really, really, really impressive in the 2 days in Kansas City.
The other part of it is that Darryn has now gotten through like 6 straight games healthy for the most part, which is a huge sign going into the NCAA tournament. He appears to have gotten, past, knock on wood, any of the hammy injuries or issues. But I agree with Rob. I mean, listen, Iowa State looked absolutely terrific these last 2 days. They looked like the team that was kind of humming earlier in the season. Joshua Jefferson, man, he's just so much fun to watch because of everything he can do. And then on the flip side, this was not a great matchup for Texas Tech. They came out, first 5 minutes, they were the aggressor. They were up early, and then after that, it was all Cyclones. But, as I said, a couple weeks ago. And I know Texas Tech, won their first 3 games without JT Toppin. They've lost their last 3. And I think they've kind of regressed to the mean a little bit of what they are. And I still feel like if they're a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament, every 12 seed is going to want to see them because they are not the same team, obviously, and justifiably, without JT Toppin.
Yeah, I'll go back to Kansas, though. I think they are the most enigmatic team in the country. I really don't know what to expect when we get to the tournament. I think they're going to get to the Sweet 16, and beyond that, I don't know. I don't know because they still can defend at an elite level, top 10 in the country, top 7 in the country. And then if you have maybe one of the most gifted scorers in the country actually playing at full capacity with a coach that's a 2-time national champion, arguably the best coach in the business, that's a pretty good recipe usually for a deep run. We just haven't seen it all come together that frequently,
Yes.
but I still think they could do anything. The Houston piece of this, I'm a little concerned with Houston, guys. And when I say concern, is because they've been so good in the tournament. Like, concern to them is going to win a national championship, going to the Final Four. Their offense, we saw Uzan last year be just one of the best guards in the country. And Sharp obviously make huge shots from the Duke game all through the season. There are open looks that he just is consistently missing the last 3 or 4 weeks for Sharp. Uzan is constantly defers to Hastings because he's just so freaking to Kingston Flemings because he's so freaking good. He's so good, and I get it. But at times when they need a bucket, it just becomes an isolation game. And I'm a little concerned that that's how this is going to be. We saw that at the end of the game against Florida last year. Not to go back to last year, which we've seen enough this year, but in big moments, are they going to be able to execute? Is execute outside of giving anything other than to a really talented freshman is giving the ball and saying, let's go. So I'm a little worried about Houston when you think about the big picture of winning this whole thing. Rob, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think, one, I totally agree with you in terms of what Houston does offensively. Now, the last couple of years, it worked for 2 reasons. One, they're one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. When they get those offensive rebounds, you got Jawan Roberts and JoJo Tugler finishing in and around the basket, right? Like that's what they do. And 2, those guys were able, you had more playmakers and then shooters around them, right? Like Milos Uzan could get in the paint and he could score for himself, but he was getting in there to spray it out to Emmanuel Sharp or spray it out to LJ Cryer and get them open looks more than it was one-on-one stuff. This year, like Kingston Flemings is at his best with the ball in his hands, and he is absolutely elite at getting to a spot, raising up, and hitting a midi, right? Like he's got a little bit of a throwback game, and it's so much fun to watch when he's going well. The problem is that's a really difficult way to get a steady diet of shots. And I think if you put a really good defender and you got 3 really good defenders in the backcourt, you can kind of slow them down a little bit because Milos Uzan and Kingston Flemings kind of overlap each other a little more. They're not quite as good on the glass. They're not quite as good defensively when it comes to forcing turnovers. So you don't get as many easy buckets as you did the last couple of years. So this year, like, I feel like Houston is only like an Elite 8 team that can maybe get to a Final Four as opposed to being a national title contender. And when that's your down year, you got like things really, really rolling in Houston.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're not what they were last year. They don't have a guy that can throw it down to in the post, but they've got an electric guard who can do kind of anything he wants with the ball in his hands for the most part. I agree with you. I think Milos Uzan's kind of lost. In this offense, I think he kind of becomes a lost guy a little bit, and it's Flemings and Sharp for the most part. Yeah, I mean, again, I think they're capable of getting to a Final Four. But the more I look around the country now, I'm like, okay, Duke today, you guys talked about earlier, doesn't look like Duke. Certainly, they're shorthanded. Caleb Foster's done. Gongba, who knows if he's going to come back and what he's going to come back like if he does. So I think there's just more opportunities. We're looking now at like a 2-horse race in a sense of like these 2 teams that are above everybody else, maybe 3, obviously if you include Florida right now, but somebody's got to get there, guys. Somebody's got to get there, and I think Houston has such a dynamic guard that you can't write them off when they have Kingston Flemings.
Mm-hmm. All right, we only got a couple minutes left. You mentioned Duke real quick. We'll get into that a little bit more in the afters too, because they were a shot away from Florida State. Shocking that would have been the lead everywhere, but Florida State, they couldn't make the shot. I think it was McCray the fifth in the end, couldn't knock it down. Before we get out of here, toast of the night. Rob, do you have a beverage to toast? Goody, you got your margarita or something? Just your water.
I have leftover coffee from the press room from about an hour and 15 minutes ago, which is I don't think it's going to be very tasty at this point, but because of you guys, I will toast with it. My toast is going to go to Carter Welling of Clemson. News came down today that he tore his ACL today, or tore his ACL yesterday. And I think that hurts Clemson, but he was on the floor crying yesterday, like after he heard it, because I think that he knew when it happened. So he showed up here. He was on crutches. He was cheering his teammates on, and it was kind of cool to see him come out here and support his teammates. So Carter Welling, toast to you, man.
There we go, Carter. Goody, what you got?
I'm going Ed Cooley. It's been a miserable season for Georgetown, and they end up getting a big win over Villanova to advance to the Big East semifinals. So, Ed Cooley, we haven't been able to really toast him much this year. I mean, he's probably drank plenty, but not out of positivity. So, I'm going to toast to Eddie for this one.
That's a good toast. That's a good one, and hopefully he's having a beverage somewhere. I'm going to go quick. Isaiah Evans, we've said many times, who will be the Robin to Cam Boozer's Batman. He has 32, 7 triples in a game where they absolutely had to have him. We'll talk about the questions about Duke, though, more broadly, because it looked like they were locked for the Final Four. Not sure that's the case without Gumba, and we know probably without Foster. All right, thanks for joining us on Field 68 After Dark, presented by BetMGM. We're in the afters right now. Goody at the Big 12. Rob and Charlotte. I'm Dallin. We'll see you later.
Taking care of your mental health shouldn't be harder than taking care of your physical health. If you pull a muscle, you go see a doctor. But when it comes to finding the right therapist, suddenly it's frustrating. You've got long wait lists or you're staring down huge out-of-pocket costs. That's where Rula comes in. Rula makes therapy simple, affordable, and fast. They work with most major insurance providers, and the average session copay is just $15. And with Rula, you're not matched and left to figure it out. They check in and they make sure that you're actually making progress. Every therapist on the platform is licensed, vetted, and picked for their expertise. So you know you're talking to someone legit, not whoever happens to be available. You answer a couple questions and Rula connects you with an in-network provider who actually fits your needs. You can be talking to a therapist as soon as the next day. Thousands of guys have already used Rula to get the care that they need. Don't keep putting it off. Go to rula.com/F68 and get started today. That's RULA.com/F68. Take the first step, get connected, and take control of your mental health.
These my DJ Burns things I had for. That was like taking them into the depths of Alaska and just dropping them off.
The first person that's gonna die got to be one of the black guys. We're not gonna make it to the end of the movie.
That's like asking somebody, do they want to get a prostate exam or a damn gunshot wound?
Welcome into the afters here on Field 68 After Dark, presented by BetMGM. We lost Goody. He's literally gotten kicked out off the floor in the Big 12 because the glass floor is going away. They're going back to Woods. They got to get that thing fixed. Rob,
you know what is nice about it, though, Dallin? You know what's nice about it is that now we actually can hear without having all of that noise in the background of Goodman. The owner of the company can't figure out how to use a mic properly.
I don't know what the hell's going on back there. There's a lot happening. There is also the biggest ladder I've ever seen behind you that I'm worried about it falling on your head. That thing is monstrous. I don't know what's going on up there, but it's got different tiers on it. Shout out to Warner Ladders, I imagine. What?
I was thinking about going and running up there and climbing it, but there was a guy already up there. He's been climbing down for like 30 seconds.
I just saw, he is elevated. Where's the guy with the halftime thing? He's gonna put it on his jaw. That dude, that halftime dude that puts the ladder and stuff on his face.
Yeah, he was here. He was here yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it's insane.
Yesterday.
I don't know. How do you learn? So here's my question. How do you learn you can do that? Right? Like, how do you learn you have that ability?
I was calling a game that he was at. I forget where I was this year. And he sends me an Instagram message the next day. Couldn't help but notice your jaw was on the floor. That'll keep me in mind as you're going through the season. Whatever it was. I was just like, because I hadn't seen it before. It was like earlier in the season. I'm like, what the hell is this? It's the same thing. Everybody has the same question. How do you determine that you have a jaw that's capable of holding up bikes, ladders, and other paraphernalia? I'll never know, but it's bizarre. It's bizarre.
Yes, it is. It's a talent, though. It's a skill. I'm impressed.
He's getting paid. And guess what? I'll take him over Red Panda any day. Him over Red Panda any day.
Ooh,
That's my hot take.
that is a hot take.
Everybody loves Red Panda.
That is a hot take.
Had enough of Red Panda. Red Panda. Shtick's over. We're done with the shtick. Done with it. Not a, you got a new jaw, new guy in town. The jaw guy. Ladder guy.
The jaw.
All right.
The ladder.
I think his name's Tyler. Tyler, the ladder guy. All right. You were down in the ACC where, honestly, we were one made shot away from having by far the biggest story of the conference tournaments outside of Miami of Ohio losing, I would think. Duke without Patrick Gumbo, without Caleb Foster, 2 of your 5 starters. And Florida State was game, did not go away, and had a shot to win it at the end. What was your takeaway for watching the Noles nearly knock off the Blue Devils?
So I want to preface all of what I'm about to say about Duke with by just kind of saying that Florida State got so much better throughout the year, right? Like we're going to look at this as the 8th seed in the ACC and a top 75 Ken Pom team. And there's going to be a lot of questions that people are going to have about Duke from this. Some of it, maybe like probably 2/3 of it is Florida State. Like that team, they got better. Luke Lux figured out how to be able to play in college, right? I think he came in here with the idea of I'm going to do something from an NBA style and figured out it's too physical in college and kind of changed it up and made it work. And I give him a lot of credit for getting that team player. Robert McRae and Leger Jones, like those 2 dudes are studs, man. Whatever happens, Leger Jones made himself so much money in the portal because of like this. He's either going to come back to Florida State for a bag, or he's going to put his name in the portal and get a bag because that dude is a monster. But when it comes to Duke, and I'm curious your take on this too, Dallin. I've said all along that I think getting Ngangba back is more important, right? If you could get one of them back, I think it's Ngangba, just because he allows you to do different things defensively and his size inside. And, we really saw, especially in the first half, Florida State was able to kind of get to the rim at will. But seeing Caden Boozer, the way that Florida State guarded him, I call it dorking, right? You dare the dork to shoot. You don't guard somebody. You put your guy in the paint and don't let him and say like, yeah, we're good with that shot. They dorked Caden Boozer in the first half, and it kind of got to him. And they were sloughing off everybody else and putting bodies in the paint and making Caden Boozer try to beat them from the perimeter and just packed everybody in the lane. And it worked, because they don't really have a paint touch guy. They don't really have someone that can loosen everyone up. They don't have someone that can get into the middle and spray it out and get open threes or get closeouts or get the ability to attack a driver and get in the paint. And I think that it's going to end up being a problem with not having Caleb Foster there. And I guess my take going in was that Shire could scheme his way through some of the issues because he can create shots with the offense that they run. But if you play smart defense against them and you pack it in and you throw some zones in there and you mix it up and you switch it up and you kind of get to Caden Boozer a little bit, the concern levels are rising with this Duke team for me.
I've said for weeks now, I think Patrick Gumbo is their most important player. He's not their best player. That's Cam Boozer. And I know you need Boozer on the court, but without Gumbo, there is nobody to replicate what he does. And when you have all the talent that Boozer has, all these things, but you don't have a rim protector, you don't have the lob threat, you don't have the rebounding, physical presence. We've seen it in multiple games, whether it be the North Carolina game when he fouled out toward the end and they let that lead slip away, or the Clemson game where he had 2 fouls early. We had a tie game. He plays almost all the second half. They blow him out by 20. Like, this dude changes their team. And without him on the floor, they are markedly different. I do think Caden Boozer can adjust and kind of – the problem is he doesn't have much time to grow into this spot, into this opportunity, if you will. He's been given great minutes off the bench throughout the course of the year, but it's different when it's you're going to be the one to lead guards. I mean, a lot of those possessions late, his brother is the one handling the ball, which still happened even when Caleb was healthy, but Caleb can provide more three-point shooting. When he catches off the catch, he's a better three-point shooter this year, and slicing to the basket. And his defensive physicality is a little better than Caden's as well. He's more of a grown man. All that said, I think Gumbo's absence, if he does not come back in the tournament, we don't think Caleb's coming back. Gumbo, supposedly there's a shot to come back in the big dance. I mean, likelihood, it seems like, to come back to the big dance. That's still a real big problem. So my whole perception of Duke is changing. That's my point. I am concerned. I was concerned before this game. Even if they won this game by 10, I wouldn't care, because it's when you're talking about their expectations for Duke are national championship or nothing. So when we're looking at that level of expectation, that is distinctly changed in my mind in terms of how easy it is for them, how possible it is for them to attain that.
Yes, and I do believe that Ngangba is going to end up being back, I think it's more precautionary with him, whereas Caleb Foster is like, if he comes back for the Final Four, I think it'll be a miracle of science that he's able to heal that quickly. And Ngangba, it sounds like this is more, he just needs a little bit of rest to get right, similar to kind of what's going on with Darius Acuff. In terms of Malik Brown, too, I do want to say he's a really, really good player, but he's like a changeup, right? And if you just throw somebody a steady diet of changeups, eventually people are going to be able to figure out how to hit it, right? You got to be able to have your fastball. You got to be able to have something that sets up the changeup. And I think that when you have Ngangba, and I don't know if me and you have talked about this, Dallin, I think that what makes them so good is that it allows you to play two different styles of defense. And UConn did this the 2 years that they won the championships, where they would play drop with Donovan Clingan, and then they would hedge hard in ball screens with Adama Sanogo and Samson Johnson. And it forced you as a team preparing for them to prepare for two totally different styles of defense, right? And that's kind of similar to what Duke does. Like, they do a lot more switching when Malik Brown is out there, and they do a lot more drop when Ngangba's out there. And having to kind of figure out what you're going to do against those two different systems when you can play both of them just as effectively, it's like having to run two game plans every time you play them. So getting him back, I think, is the difference maker. But where are you at on Caden? Because I thought that it was in his head when they weren't guarding him at the start, and he missed his first 5 threes. But then late in the game, he had that huge and one that cut the lead to 1. He had a big bucket later in the half. He made some really important plays. He had a big defensive rebound down here right in front of me. I thought that he kind of grew through it and adjusted to the fact that, like, hey, we don't think that you're good enough. That's probably the first time he ever had someone say that to him. We don't think you're good enough to do something on a basketball court. And it looked like that got in his head a little bit.
That's why I said at the beginning, he doesn't have much time to grow into this role. But You're right. This is going to be a pressure cooker in terms of the opportunity, in terms of the one-and-done nature of a tournament, the ACC, and then the real one-and-done nature of the NCAA tournament. So in each game, these minutes really, really matter. And the fact that they were pushed here really matters. Like, that I think is critical. But I still think there's going to be not necessarily limitations, differences in how he plays and what he can do versus what Caleb could do. And I think he needs to play his game, play within himself, not try to do too much, but make the plays when necessary. And you're right, that drive in the last 2 minutes or so was a tough finish that they needed to have at that moment. So he's capable, and there's a confidence thing, there's a growth thing, there's a comfort, like a level of comfort within this situation that you're playing in. That it's like muscle memory. He hasn't been in those situations a lot throughout the course of this year. Bear in mind that team has not been in that situation a lot throughout the course of this year. They've blown out the majority of league opponents, which was the problem. My concern last year was they were so much better than the league, and the league was so much more down that they were hardly pushed. They lost one game to Clemson. It wasn't really the same thing this year. It wasn't that competitive in so many other games. That said, I feel like the non-conference, the random Michigan toss-in, and that was actually delivered. Remember last year they played Illinois, won by 40 in February. That Michigan game, I think, really pushed them and proved something to them. I know John Shire said, I've been knowing that about these guys. He can say that. Well, they actually did it now against Michigan in that neutral environment, which was different. So I think all those experience will help them. And tomorrow, they're going to win, but hopefully being pushed again, that will help. But this helps that group as they go into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and tonight they had to come back from being down. I don't think that they've done that this year. They were down by 8 with, I want to say, like 8.5 minutes left, 9 minutes left, something like that. And they went on a 16-2 run. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but they went from down 51 to being up 67-61, and it felt like this. And being able to say that we've done that, like, that's half the battle. You've been in these huddles before, Dallin, right? Half the battle when you're down is being able to look at the guys in the huddle with you and say, hey, look, we've been here before. We're good. We got this. We can make this comeback. We did this against XYZ. So if they're down in the Elite 8 against, I don't know, let's just say Illinois, and they're down by 8 with 7 minutes left, they can look at each other and say, guys, we're good. We've been here. We were down by 8 against Florida State in Charlotte, remember? And then we won the ACC tournament. So being able to go through that as a group is something that I think will help them long term.
And not to belabor this point, but last year after Houston beat them, the Houston guys told me in the locker room, they said, we saw it in their eyes. They hadn't been there before. We live in these spaces. And they were right. Like, you can feel like that was new to them. And they was a little shell shocked. They're like, we're in this moment. We're starting to just let it slip away. How do we handle it? Didn't handle it well. And those guys, they smelled blood in the water, and they went and finished the job. Last thing on this thing on Duke and more. Are they still winning this tournament? You still feel really good about them winning the ACC?
Yeah, I feel really good about it. I Clemson without Carter Welling, that's going to be a really difficult matchup because you lose like your like pick and pop spacing 5 and just another body up front against the Cam Boozers. That's 5 less fouls that you have to be able to deal with him. I really am looking forward to this Miami Virginia game. Like, it's not the sexiest matchup, but Virginia is so impressive to me because of their size, because of how well they've kind of adjusted to a new head coach. It throws me off seeing a group of 5 players on the floor wearing a Virginia basketball uniform pressing for 40 minutes. It throws me off. See them getting out on the break and running. Like, it's just the way that Ryan has kind of flipped what this program does and how they kind of are thought of is it's weird, but they're good. They're physical. Testa Ritter is a monster. I love their guards. It feels like every night they have a different guard step up and have a really big night. There's a lot of sacrifice and a lot of guys that came here thinking they were going to be the man, and they're not the man. But they have their moments where they kind of showcase what they can be, and that's the best kind of team you want to be on. And then Miami's just so physical. Like, have you seen them in person? Like, I didn't realize how big some of those dudes were until you walk by and it's like, holy shit! Like, Shelton Henderson's 6'7", 240, and he plays the 3. He's a monster. And then Ernest Uday is 6'11", 250, and like he's catching lobs and one-handed dunks on people. And Malik Renault, he had 24 today. Like, that team, they're there for a fight, man. And when they win the fight, when they win the battle on the boards, when they can get to the rim on you, they're a problem. So you got these guys that are trying to get to the front of the basket, going up against the team that has the best shot blocking duo in college basketball, and Johan Grunlow and Ugani and Yensa. Like, sign me up for that. Like, we're gonna have a really, really good opener here tomorrow night.
Yeah, it is strength against strength, and they're 2 of the best rebounding teams, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. So it's just the physicality of both those teams are huge. All right, so real quick, do we have anything in the Big East? Do you want to talk about the Big East? Top 4 went through.
No, top 4 went through. Like, I'm going to do when I get home, I'm going to do an episode of the Top Dogs podcast so we can talk about UConn and St. John's there a little bit. So make sure you go check that out. That'll be up on the YouTube channel. I will say Will Wade came out and basically said, I'm not taking the LSU job. Did you see that? Like, someone asked him about it in the press conference, and he was just like, I'm at NC State. I want to be at NC State. I want to win at NC State. I have the resources to do it, and we're going to get this thing right. So I thought that was relevant. I want to hit on Casey Alexander. Goodman reported this. I think Kevin Sweeney broke the news, is going to be the next head coach at Kansas State. I got thoughts. I'm going to let you go first because I might go 2 or 3 minutes on Casey Alexander here.
I think he's a great coach. He's won everywhere he's been. It's a really good hire. Obviously, he came into a good job in a program that Rick Byrd had at a really high level at Belmont. He kept it at a very high level. They moved it to a different league, made it a little bit harder to get out of that league at times. But I think he's a great coach. I think he'll be a good fit there. They always play a fun brand of basketball. They're going to space it. They're going to shoot it. They're going to have skilled guys, talented guys. And hopefully now Kansas State's got a lot of money, man. So hopefully they can keep those guys and or recruit those guys that he really wants and needs to stay there, because it's part of the problem within the ecosystem of college basketball these days. If you got a good player, he's gone within a year or 2. We know that. Well, now at Kansas State, with the money they have, the backing they have, and the support, hopefully he can get the financial resources he needs to build a consistent winner. So I'm excited for him. I think it's a great hire.
Well, the thing about Belmont is you're never going to be able to compete with the highest of the high majors when it comes to the guys that you have on your roster, right? That's why someone like, let me just make sure I got these names right. Malik Dia, who's at Ole Miss now, not going to be able to keep him because the high major is going to come in and pay him a whole bunch of money. Jacoby Gillespie, high major is going to come in, pay him a whole bunch of money. Kate Tyson, high major is going to come in, pay him a whole bunch of money. Ben Shepherd went to the NBA, but then you had what's the name of the kid? Will Richard. You can identify him, you can bring him in, you can develop him, but a high major is going to come in and pay him a whole bunch of money, right? So Jacoby Wood, another kid that they were able to identify. Like, the thing about Casey Alexander, since he's been there, is the talent identification and the fit of who would make sense within the system that he wants to run has been elite at Belmont. Now, Belmont is a program where you can really go get those kind of kids because it is one of the best mid-majors in college basketball. And at the mid-major level, it is well-resourced, right? And you're in Nashville, and who doesn't love, like, who wouldn't want to go to college in Nashville? It sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like a lot of trouble that I would have gotten in if I was there. But he's able to identify the talent and go and get the players that he wants. And the thing about Kansas State, I really do think Kansas State is one of like the top 5 or 6 jobs in the Big 12 because they got money, man. Like I didn't know how much money there was in cattle, but there is so much money in cattle. He's going to be able to have probably upwards of 10, maybe even more, $10 million in NIL. And if you give a guy that can identify talent, that can bring that talent in, that can have that talent play within the system, that can coach up the pieces that he has, and you give him the money that he needs to be able to get the players that will be able to win in the Big 12, I think that is a perfect combination. Now, none of this stuff is guaranteed, right? Because you still have to be able, yes, I know recruiting is all about money, right? But there's a lot of programs that have a lot of money that are a little bit more prestigious than Kansas State that aren't in Manhattan, Kansas, which is not always the Manhattan, Kansas is not exactly Nashville. Let's just put it like that. But if Casey Alexander can get the guys that he wants, he's going to be able to coach them up. He's going to be able to find a way to make it work there. He's won everywhere he's been for a reason. And I think that this is a hire that makes a lot of sense. I don't think you were going to get Josh Schertz because I don't think he's moving in this cycle. I don't think you were going to get Jared Calhoun because they wanted to move a little bit quicker than that. And because, frankly, I think there are other jobs that Jared has his eye on over Kansas State. Brian Hodgson is probably looking elsewhere. I think he wants to go back to the Northeast if he's going to leave Florida. So you got yourself. I think they might have found kind of a hidden gem here in Casey Alexander. I think it's the perfect fit. You got a guy that can coach. You're going to give him the money he needs to be able to recruit. He can identify talent. That seems like a perfect fit to me.
I'm right there with you. We got any questions, or are we wrapping this afters up? What are we doing here, boys?
We can.
Good. You're good. I'm good. Rob, you go. Did you say you're going to do a pod now, or you're going to sleep?
I'm going to go do I got to go do the UConn podcast, man. I got to represent for my Huskies.
You're out of your freaking mind. I'm going to bed. Well, yeah. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself down there in Charlotte. I'll enjoy myself in the USA studio. 8-10 quarters tomorrow. Let's go. We'll see if we have the three bid.
St. Joe's, baby. The Hawk never dies.
11-1 St. Joe's. Just saying. Interesting Steve Donahue and crew. Keep that for another time. Field of 68 after dark, BetMGM. We appreciate you. See you next time.